So the DNC has elected Ken Martin as their new chair. What does that even mean? Hey, hi, my confused little friends. I'm here to give you the rundown. We all know the Democrats dropped the ball this past election. Donald Trump outperformed across the board. Even if Kamala had swung Joe Biden's 2020 numbers, she wouldn't have stood a chance. Overwhelmingly, polling has showed that voters were most concerned about the economy, and Democrats failed to connect with the working class. The DNC and its new chair has a chance to commit to some reform. But what does the DNC chair even do? Historically, the job has been mostly about fundraising, and there is some grooming of future candidates, but mostly they are soliciting donors and trying to bring in that bag for national and state level Democratic candidates. But the actual definition of the role given by the Democratic Party's charter is pretty broad and gives a lot of room for reform. The DNC chair could work to improve Democratic messaging, connecting with new media both online and off. The chair could increase their role as an organizer, building coalitions with grassroots organizations and activists. And of course, the Democratic Party needs strong leadership to help keep the party in line and unified. Now, will Ken Martin do any of this? I will say my overall impression of Ken Martin is positive. He's coming out of Minnesota as the chair of the Democrats' Farmer Labor Party, and Ken has a long history of being a union and labor organizer. This is a background I like. Love me a union guy, love me a labor organizer, and that is the type of person we need to connect with the working class, which we lost by a lot. My issue with Ken is that his experience has been largely in Minnesota, which is a solidly blue state. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work to keep a blue state blue, but that is not what we're looking at the national scale. Ken will have to win back voters across the country who have shifted right under the pressure of MAGA ideology. It ain't an easy job. So on labor policy and advocating for the working class, I'm a fan. Strategy, we will have to wait and see. I will say Ken recognizes the need for a messaging makeover in the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris's policies overwhelmingly would do better for the middle class, would do better for our economy, and she couldn't sell it. Being right doesn't matter if you can't convince people. And this is something that came up during the DNC chair election at large. The party is definitely recognizing the need to embrace new media and online influencers to spread their messages the same way the right has. But we're playing a whole lot of catch up, so it's gonna be a long ride. So does this mean the DNC is all fixed and progressive now? No! There's still institutional problems within the DNC. The DNC still suffers from the issue of money in politics. I mean, that's just the name of the game now. In 2024, billions were spent, and if we're gonna be competitive against the Republicans, we have to be matching their fundraising. At the same time, though, that means a lot of big moneyed interests are exercising their First Amendment right to pour money into our political system. Meanwhile, while the Democrats have recognized that they need to reconnect with the working class, they still seem hell-bent on this big tent strategy. The concept of which is to have broad appeal and have a large, broad base. But the downfall is you don't have a solid core message, and it starts to feel like you don't stand for anything. People don't feel like Democrats are fighting for them, and that's what we need them to do. So whether or not Ken Martin manages to get that done, we'll have to wait and see. Now, progressives for years have been screaming for reform within the Democratic Party. But the thing to always remember is that does not start from the top. Ken Martin hopefully will have a positive impact on the party's direction, but if we want real progressive momentum, we have to build that from the ground up. I am talking about organizing locally, getting involved in your communities, and having an impact. We build the momentum, not the DNC. Because frankly, the DNC has continuously shat the bed. They have let Donald Trump win twice. They had the polling showing how unfavorable Joe Biden was, and they still let him hang on until 100 days from election day, giving Kamala no time to run a campaign. If they had been listening to voters at all, they would have recognized the need for a full field primary, and they would have gotten Joe to step aside. Instead, we got whatever the fuck 2024 was. So while I am hopeful that Ken can do some positive work within the DNC, I ain't relying on that bitch. I trust the DNC to save me about as much as I trust JD Vance near my couch. It is up to us. So yeah, stay tuned. The next 4 years are gonna be fucking something. And I'll be here to break down the shitstorm for you and give you pointers on how to stay involved. As for how to stay sane the next 4 years, you're on your fucking own.